Well, good Monday morning and welcome to Connect, the California MBA's weekly podcast featuring one-on-one interviews with movers and shakers in the mortgage industry. It is April and we are talking with innovators and disruptors this month. So folks who have been changing the mortgage industry from the start of their companies and who continue to innovate in the industry and continue to shake things up and bring in fresh ideas. And so we've got a lot of great guests lined up this month. I hope you're excited to find out their insights, what makes their companies and their perspectives unique, and hopefully have some takeaways to improve your own company as well. So before we get into the conversation today, let's thank our sponsors over at Accelerate. So if you're looking to close out more loans in 2021, we ask that every time, everyone should be answering yes, then it's important you want to check out Accelerate and experience Accelerate's award-winning customer engagement platform that features lead management, CRM, call routing, sales enablement, marketing automation, borrower engagement, and data intelligence through innovative use of multi-channel marketing, which includes text, social media, email, direct mail, phone, ringless voicemail, retargeting, and much more. And as we always say, if you're not following Josh Friend on LinkedIn, you're missing out. Josh is posting on there quite often. He's got a lot of good insights. And if you want to schedule a personal demo, make sure and go to accelerate.com and you can do that there. So before we jump into the conversation, I want to toss it over to Susan Milazzo, our CEO, for this week's weekly update. Susan.
Thanks, Dustin. Hi, this is Susan, and we are weeks away from this year's Mortgage Innovators Conference. So I thought I would share with you all a few ways that you can save on your registration. First, of course, if you are a member of the California MBA, you always get a discounted registration fee for any of our events. So great way to save right from the beginning. Also, we started our registration promotions. And so last week we launched our first round, but if you're registered by this Friday, you'll be entered to win another Amazon gift card. So great little gift that you can get just for registering for an event that you won't want to miss anyway. Also, all of our sponsors have received 50 promo codes to offer their customers 50% off to register. So feel free to reach out to any of our sponsors and ask them for their promo code, and you can register at a very deep discount. Either way, you want to be sure that you are registered by April 15th, because that will ensure that you can get our fun conference experience kits. And those of you that joined us last year know that we had some fun sending those out. It includes a wide variety of items from our sponsors and things that, little prizes that we might be mentioning for other ways to win during our virtual conference that will be happening on May 4th. So be sure that you get your registration taken care of this week, and I look forward to seeing you in our virtual environment on May 4th. That's it for this week. Back to you, Dustin.
All right, thanks, Susan. Now let's jump into the conversation. I'm excited to welcome in here one of our first repeat guests. We've actually talked to Alex last year and had a great conversation. We're bringing him back in, excited to find out what's new at Sales Boomerang. Alex is the co-founder and chief ROI Booster. He's also, many people don't know this, he's also the Jedi Master of lending secrets. So we've got someone in here that knows all the secrets here. We're going to find out some more about what Alex has been up to. So Alex, welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me, Dustin. Always a pleasure, and I always enjoy listening to your show.
No, appreciate it. So we've talked about, I want to say it was about 6 or 8 months ago. What's new at Sales Boomerang since then?
Well, you know, the beauty of having a follow-up conversation is you can actually check if what the person said worked out or not. And so I think in the last conversation we were talking about the pilot of our newest initiative, which was the prescriptive scenarios, which is an engine, a brain, if you will, that tells lenders not just the fact that somebody in their database is ready for a loan, but which loan are they ready for with you right now and are actually qualified for right now. And so we were talking about it then. It's alive and running and producing results. We as all experiments, as all concepts go, you hope it works, and then when it comes to life and works and then ends up working better than you even expected, it's just reason to celebrate. So we went through alpha beautifully, beta beautifully, and we're live now and just bringing on clients to use it every day.
Wow, it's keeping you busy then. That's good.
Yes.
So, as I mentioned here, the theme this month is innovators and disruptors. We've got our Mortgage Innovators Conference coming up here in just a few weeks. You're a big participant in that as well. If you're not registered yet, make sure to go to mortgageinnovators.com and sign up for that.
Absolutely. Let me second that, by the way. It's a great conference. Done it before. It's amazing. So make sure you guys show up. It's great information, great people to meet as well.
Yeah, Alex has got a couple of speaking roles there. He's going to be interviewing Jerry Hallbrook with Volley, and also he's got his own tech talk as well. So definitely make sure and sign up for that. So you guys at Sales Boomerang, you guys are definitely when I thought of innovators and disruptors in the industry, you guys are one of the first thought in my head, because it's one of those things where, had anyone heard of Sales Boomerang 10 years ago? No. Now you guys are everywhere. I mean, that to me is the perfect example of an innovator or a disruptor. So tell me, what do you think, what's been the biggest innovation or disruption you guys have made at Sales Boomerang?
Well, if we go back to, and this is so interesting, I don't know if I can share some of the things that we're in line to get awarded, not just from the industry, but from around the world. We're lined up to get some serious awards for what we've done. So I may not drop those things here. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share all those things just yet, but just understand, we've just had a very similar conversation describing what it is that kind of took us to where we are today. And you know what's interesting? We intended to not disrupt in the beginning. That is like, I don't know if this is a big secret or something that a lot of other companies that have some fast pace and have done some things to move markets can actually admit, but we specifically wanted to come in and not be a disruptor and actually feel like an evolution instead of a revolution. Because here's what I heard, Dustin. For those of you that haven't heard some of the story, I personally was not from the mortgage industry when I started working on this in 2016. I was from the marketing, communications, technology. That is where I grew up in business, right? Is building businesses, but from the marketing, communications, technology side. And when I was like, hey, let's bring this great technology to the mortgage industry, interviewing some of the people from the mortgage industry told me very quickly that people were afraid of technology. They were afraid of change. They were afraid of fast pace. They were afraid of disruption. And if you look back, until about 2015, 2014, 2015, the mortgage industry was sort of, and not to point a spotlight on our mission of no borrower left behind, the mortgage industry was being left behind by technology. But it felt okay because you're still doing $2 trillion. And what industry can say something is wrong when they're doing $2 trillion,
Broke, don't
right?
fix it. Yep.
Yeah. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Exactly right. And so I think one of the things we disrupted was the concept of making yourself look like a disruptor to get attention. We went the opposite way. We said, wait a second, don't fear. This is nothing new. This is, how when you turn somebody down, don't you want to know when they're qualified? No, yeah. And now what do? You try to physically measure what they could have done in the meantime and call them at the exact right moment. So you could say, hey, did you fix your credit? And people are like, yeah, I do that now. That's right. I have folders and I go back to them every so often. And I call them depending on their situation. If somebody was in the low 500s, I wait a little longer than somebody that was in the high 500s. I needed to be at 620. I said, great. So guess what? This is nothing new. We're just going to automate that piece. That's all. Everything you're doing, we're just going to make it automatic for you. And that was the thing that I think truly catapulted us, because people weren't afraid of something new. They were like, oh, you're just going to help me do what I'm already doing manually, but you're just going to do it faster and easier for me. I can get behind that. And then this was the bigger disruption of what we decided to do, was to say, look, you never have to log into Sales Boomerang ever. All the magic we do will come to you. That way you don't have to learn technology, you don't have to remember passwords. Just have to know that you want this information. And if you want it, it comes to you with no walls blocking it, no needing to learn how to log into things. How would you like that experience? And that was where we got a resounding yes, and where lenders said to us, Alex, our loan officers, maybe they want to, but in most cases don't go enthusiastically into learning a new piece of technology. They resist it. And so this is what they said to us. So they said, Alex, if you can deliver this without new education on technology, new UI to learn, new login to remember, you're going to have a lot of adoption. And I came to find out, Dustin, that adoption is a very big thing in the mortgage industry, very important. But even more important was the utilization. You can adopt something, meaning I know it, but if I don't use it, then who cares? Yeah, I know we have this solution, but I don't use it. Well, then who cares if if you've adopted the concept, if you're right? And so, when you're talking about disruption, I think the thing that we were successful in disrupting was really alignment with where the industry wanted to be without them even knowing that they wanted to be there. They wanted this information. They just didn't want to go look for it, right? They wanted this information. They just didn't want to have to go log in somewhere, right? It's all of those things. And when it became the perfect storm, CRM started growing their technology base and their integrations, and people started to get used to saying, okay, not only do I have an LOS now, but I also have this thing, a CRM now, but I also have this thing called a POS now, right? And so all of these technologies started to come up at the exact time when we were just starting to think about the business. We weren't even building it yet. And so it was a perfect storm to be able to look like a disruptor, where really we wanted to kind of just merge in, right? No friction, don't create any loud noises, just kind of get in line and let people believe that this is something that they should have had 10 years ago, because it's that easy to take advantage of. And I think
That's amazing.
that's
I mean,
some
you
of the
guys are
secret.
disrupting without trying to disrupt. I mean, going and not trying to disrupt, as you say, but I mean, that is the disruption, is, making a change without, to your point. I mean, I love the idea. I mean, it had to be a huge selling point that you don't have to remember another, username and password. That's huge.
Yes. And if you look at earlier interviews, again, from 2017, 2018, if you look up any interviews with Sales Boomerang, then you will hear me say constantly, because people are like, wow, this is revolutionary. They would say this to me. And I would correct them right on the call, say, no, 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 this is evolutionary. This was bound to happen. We're just the lucky ones bringing it to the market, but this was 100% going to happen sooner or later in this industry. And that is this, first of all, that's true. Second of all, that was the thing that allowed us to disrupt, because then people came in with sort of an open mind going, oh, you're saying this is just the electric vehicle version of the gas vehicle? Okay, I can see the benefit there. It's not a flying car. I'm afraid of a flying car. That's too much, but I'm not afraid of a car that's run on electricity. I'm interested in hearing at least more about that. And that is what opened up people's ears. They gave us a chance to at least be heard.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, and you're sort of touching on this here, but what, from your perspective, what's the most important attitude for a company to have to be a successful disruptor in any industry?
Wow.
Or is it different depending on the industry?
That's a great question. So I would say one of my favorite, I guess, lessons, and this is a famous one, right? I believe it was Bruce Lee who said, "I am less afraid of a man that's practiced 1,000 punches one time than a man that's practiced one punch 1,000 times," right? And so I'd say if you want to be a great disruptor, focus on that one punch. Like, what can you, and you've all heard this before, but let's just bring it back to basics here. What can you be the best in the world at? Once you've identified that, go all in on that. You want to be a disruptor? Find the one thing and become the best in the world at that. That's the sure way to disrupt. You may not even disrupt an industry, but you may disrupt a process, right? You may innovate on a process. You may make a process more efficient, and that process then influences another process or another task or another business or another strategy. And that's where the disruption begins, right? And so there are so many moving parts in business, all right? People often think that it's one thing that makes everything happen, but it's not, right? Sales Boomerang alone could not have the impact it had on the industry without, you mentioned Accelerate, wonderful organization, love Josh, and what they do. Without Josh and his CRM and organizations like his, we would only be half efficient, because then you would have to log into a system. You would have to figure out how to send your own emails. You would have to figure out how to send your own text messages, right? But with a partner like Accelerate, it happens automatically, which makes Sales Boomerang much more effective and much more easier to integrate and adopt and use, right? And so my point is this: focus on the one thing. Don't assume that this is that if you're doing one small piece of the bigger puzzle, that you're not valuable. right? You are. Just become the very best at this, right? There's so many examples of this, by the way, right? We can get into so many different examples, you know, even going as far as something like Post-it notes, right? Think about this. They became the absolute best at that. Now they make everything, but they only made everything once people trusted that they're the best at this thing, right? So, you know, to be a disruptor, just find that one thing that you can be the best at, go all in on that, and the rest you'll grow from.
That's a great takeaway. That's a great practical takeaway. I love that, Alex. So let's transition a little bit from the company to the individuals running the company. So,
Yeah.
you know, and this is maybe a little, you know, self-diagnosis here. What about those innovators at the heart of these successful disrupting companies? What are maybe, from your perspective, the most important or common qualities you see in that?
Oh my goodness. Man,
Or
we could
maybe
do an entire
favorite
show.
innovative or disruptive company, and what do you admire about their, you know, founders?
So I just want to make sure I understand the question about the founder or about the people, other people in the company too, like the VPs,
The ones who make it run, right? The heart of the company.
the heart of it. So everyone, from the founders to the founding
Right.
to the leadership team to so here's the thing. This is true about everything in life, in business, in family, friends. Like, I want to make sure I give this audience, you, myself, I want to make sure that I honor myself in the way I stand behind this answer, but also that your audience gets the most out of this and can put it in practice. So the people that join your organization, right, are doing it for themselves. Okay, this is very important. This is very important. There's two ways that you can say that you agree with someone. One is you're right, and one is right. Okay. Now, what's the difference? Just one word is the difference. In many cases, and you can go back in your mind, you're going to see this now that I say this, now that everyone hears this, you're going to start seeing this in your life. And you're going to be like, oh my God, that is so true. When you say to someone, you're right, you're basically saying, you're right, leave me alone. Okay. Okay, you're right. Right. But when you say right, yes, you're agreeing with your own beliefs and you're going to progress forward. So think about this. When I'm in it for myself, okay, I want to be involved in the process. When I'm in it for you, right? When I'm doing it for you, I can lose interest at some point. So why do I always talk about the most important thing is that everyone on your team is in it for themselves. They're in it for themselves. They're doing it for themselves. They're enjoying this, not for your win, but for their own personal win. And because they're part of a team, you're going to win together, right? But if everyone goes on, if you look at sports and if somebody goes out and says, hey, I'm going to have the best game of my life because I love this, they're going to have the best game of their life. Everyone on the team benefits from that, right? And so when we're looking inward, one of the things that we personally look for, that I personally look for in everyone that we bring on a team, is that people are in the positions that they love being in. And then the rest starts to take care of itself. It really does. And so in disruptive, in organizations that grow quickly, and if you want to put a disruptive label on them, they grow quickly because you got a bunch of people that are in roles that they really enjoy doing, right? Like you have a bunch of people that aren't resenting, that aren't hitting the snooze button on their alarm clocks 12 times before they get up to go do what they want. You have people that are doing the opposite. You have people that are looking forward to Mondays, not Saturdays, right? And not because somebody asked them to, not because Alex said, hey, team, you should be excited about Mondays, but literally they're excited about Mondays because they can't wait to get into doing what they were doing, right? And so that, if you want to look at healthy, fast-growing companies, you'll find that. You'll find people in the roles that they dreamt of being in, and they're not, there's very little politicking, there's very little, well, why is that person doing the thing that I should be doing? None of that. It's a lot of support. It's like, I want to do what that person is doing. Hey, how do I get there? That's the conversation, right? I want to be the starting quarterback. How do I become the starting quarterback? Well, here's what you have to do, right? You need to show up, right? And so I think that's again, very kind of abstract look at a solution to be a successful disruptor, right? by just simply putting people in the roles that they enjoy doing, and you'll quickly know if they enjoy doing them because you'll see their excitement in the position. If it's not there,
Folks,
move 'em.
yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it's somewhat abstract, but it's super practical. And to your point, I mean, you can see the results, with your own eyes. So that's
Well,
interesting.
that's what I wanted
Great.
to do, Dustin, is make sure the answer, because there's some answers that are when somebody hears they're out of reach. Like I don't know, how am I supposed to measure that? Well,
Right.
this is something you can really look inwards and go, whew. And there's people on teams that just aren't loving it. But you know what? Here's the crazy part, Dustin. People feel like they owe somebody something. Well, he hired me, so I owe him at least 6 months. No, you don't. Stop it. You only owe yourself something. That's it. You don't owe your hiring manager another 6 months of working there and hate it. That
Yeah.
doesn't help anyone. What you owe is, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Manager, I love the opportunity that you gave me. I love this company. I just don't like my role in this company. Is there another thing I can do here? Here's what I love. I didn't realize it, but being here for 2 months, I realize now that this is where I'd rather be. Is there something available for me? And you, as the leader, as the owner of the company, needs to understand what that person is saying and not take it personally, and understand that it is in your best interest to move them to a role or help them find another role in another company, but literally help them. Don't just go get out of my office and get out of my company. You're done. That doesn't work either. You want to help that person, right? And so that right there is just just a lesson for people listening who are wanting to join companies. Remember, join them for your reasons, right? For your reasons. Why are you there, right? That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great feedback. Great insight there. So you guys, I think, are kind of in this position right now. It seems like, at least from my perspective, you are starting to make that transition from that upstart, disruptor to an established market player now. Everyone knows your name. You're at all the conferences. You're on everyone's tongue. So what are some of the steps and what are maybe some of the unique challenges that you're facing as you make that transition from that upstart to the established player?
You ask the best questions, and I love these questions. So
I'm not going to make it
the
easy on you.
some of the biggest transitions that you'll go from in a great book to read for anyone in technology, and I'm sure you all heard it, is the Crossing the Chasm. It's a great book. Um, uh, but some of the biggest challenges that you may face and that we're seeing too is going from those early adopters, right, the innovators, to early adopters to the early majority. And the early majority is where every company wants to get to, right? That's where over 30% of all the business is. But the early majority of your customers, they think differently. They need more proof. They need to have tangible evidence that this is going to work for them. And a lot of the people that are making the decisions on that technology are saying, hey, I'm making a decision and I don't want to be fired for making this decision. So I want to be confident that I'm making the right decision, right? And so that's a big difference than selling into the innovators and early adopters. Innovators are okay in failing. They're like, you know what? We're going to try it. If it doesn't work, we'll try something else, right? But we want to try it now before this thing, really takes. That's innovators. Early adopters are right there, right behind them, right on their heels, going, okay, I've heard this for a few months now or a year now. We're ready to take a dive into it. And that early majority just needs to think it through a little bit more. So for us, what we've done is we've really staffed up on customer success and technical support and educators and adoption and utilization specialists, contact specialists, strategists, so that we are hearing our clients and they can see that the support will be there for them, that they're not going to be left out and thrown in deep waters and saying, hey, trust us, this works, just trust us. It's like, no, don't just trust us. We're going to hold your hand, and we're going to have a net at the bottom, and we're going to have cushions under the net, and the cushions are going to be floating on water, right? So like, no matter what happens, you're going to be all right here. In fact, you're just going to win. We're toying, Dustin, and this will be an exclusive here, right? We're toying with making a guarantee. We're toying with literally guaranteeing an ROI, so that these this early majority really can shake off the stress and be like, okay, all right, well, if it's a guarantee, we can't really go wrong here, right? Like if I'm guaranteed, let's just say 3 or 5x. If I give the Sales Boomerang $1, they promise me to get $3 to $5 back every time. What do I have to lose? Nothing, everything to gain, right? And so So we are toying with that. Like, how do we? That would be a really, by the way, talking about disruptors for the month, that would be an incredibly disruptive move, right? Like, guarantee. Hey, who in the world has given you a guarantee before? No one. We're doing that. We're about to do that, right? We're toying with it. We have 1 or 2 companies under a guarantee right now that we're testing, and that is sort of because of how well this works, because it's really is evolutionary. It's just. Do you want to know what's happening to the customers that you've worked with or have talked to before? Yes, I do. I care about them. Great. Would you like to know when they need you next? Yes, I would like to know that. Okay, if the answer is yes to both of those things, then this system never not works. If it never not works, how do we help more lenders? Well, we got to break past that fear. And so here's the customer success, technical success, strategy, contact, training, and guarantee. Put those in place. We should get through the early majority and the late majority with relative ease.
Interesting. All right. Well, you heard it here first, and stay tuned. On follow you guys on LinkedIn.
6 months from now.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll check back in. We'll hold you accountable.
That's right.
So let's switch back real quick to mortgages for a second. I'm curious your thought now. What aspect of the lending life cycle, from your perspective, is due for is most due maybe for a major innovation or right for a disruptor to come in and really shake things up?
Post loan. I mean, that's easy. I could tell you, done. Post loan. Post loan needs the most work. It's a wild, wild west. Like I do a loan with a lender. What's next? Nobody knows. The lender doesn't tell me. I don't know. I see commercials from people. I see mail from people. I see billboards. I see on the radio people are talking about stuff on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. People are posting all these things about rates and programs. And as a consumer, how do I know if I should be doing the biggest investment I've ever made? And the minute I finish my deal, I have no clue if it was a good investment. I do not know if I'm in the best loan, if this vehicle is still the best vehicle for me to be in. No clue. Post loan. That's it. And the spokesperson for it should be Post Malone. No, bad joke. All right. Yeah. If nobody laughs at it, that's okay. It made me laugh.
Take a second to think in.
So listen, post loan, here's what I mean by that. When you finish my loan, please tell me what happens next. When do I need to improve the vehicle I'm in? Because what is a loan? It's a financial vehicle. That's all it is, right? It's a relationship between me and the financial institution that says, hey, you want to live in this house? I want you to live in this house. I'm going to put up the risk of lending you my money. You pay it back on this agreed upon terms, and at some point there may be better options for you. But right now I don't know when that point comes, because I get bombarded with emails and letters and advertisements the day I get my loan.
Yep.
So I don't know, did I make the right buying decision? And so the best thing to do is for now to focus on post loan. If you can show me when I should be looking at taking the next loan or improving my current position, then I can sort of move forward and ignore the noise. I can ignore the noise. I'll give you an example. Before I had kids, every diaper commercial was a waste of time. It was noise. I don't need a diaper. I don't have kids. I don't need baby formulas. I don't need any of that stuff. But as I saw them, it was completely wasted on me, right? I literally could not wait for that commercial to get out of my way because it has nothing to do with me. Well, that's what's happening.
Tico was invented, Alex.
Say it again?
First place. So you just fast forward right through those commercials.
That's right. There you go. That's why we record everything. Or Netflix, right? That's why
Exactly.
that's why Netflix actually is as successful as it is, right? You get exactly what you want when you want it. I click a button, I get to watch the show I want right away. I don't have to. Nothing else can prevent me. So here's my point. In the mortgage industry, the minute I do a loan, 1,000 companies contact me for me to do a loan with them. It's very confusing. So as a lender, it should be my job to explain to the borrower that, look, you're going to hear all these things, right? Maybe you don't even have to say that, but let's say you do say that. You're going to hear all these things. Here's why none of that matters to you, because nobody knows your situation like us. We just did this loan for you, and we know exactly what's best for you. Now, here's the best part, Mr. and Mrs. Customer. Now that we know what was the best for you today, I can actually tell you what's going to be best for you tomorrow. So based on your current loan, Dustin, what needs to happen is rates need to drop by this much. Your credit needs to go up by this much. Your equity needs to go here. Your debt needs to go here. And when those things happen, there is a better option for you. But until those things happen, every ad you see is not for you. You can just ignore them. You can skip over them. It's like diapers that without having a baby, right? Just skip over it. Don't even give it a second thought. But it doesn't happen today. Today, I give it a second thought. What does that commercial mean? Does that mean I should do something? Should I call that company? Should I ask a question? I don't know. But if somebody tells me when, where, and why the next best loan is for me, I can actually go. It's just like Sales Boomerang. I don't have to log into any user interface. I don't have to remember any passwords. I can move forward, and when the time comes, it will appear right in front of me. Now I contact my lender, or my lender contacts me, and it says, hey, Dustin, remember the day I told you it was going to be the right time for you to take a loan? Today's that day.
Yeah, then you're a partner. Then you're a lending partner. You're not just, my lender. You actually are just an investment there, and I'm a customer for life. I'm invested in you.
That's exactly right. And we have a plan together. That's why I'm invested in you, because we've made a plan. You can't expect me to invest in you, the lender, and believe in you if all you've done is sold me something.
Right.
But if you've given me a plan to follow that's best for Alex, which means, by the way, lenders, listen up. If you're listening to this, listen up. It means you have to be selfless. It means if you've given Alex the formula, then you have to trust that Alex will do what's best for Alex with that information. Hopefully, because you gave it to them, they trust you to carry out that formula. That is what typically, by the way, happens psychologically. We follow the path of least resistance. We don't want to start over again, but in most cases, we don't have a path, so we do start over again in this industry. But if you give me a path, you show me the trust, you show me that this plan is for you, me, the customer, and that you're just going to help me execute on it, then when the time comes, I'm executing it with you. But you can't hold me accountable. You can't get mad at me, the customer, if I go, ooh, I think I've checked all these boxes and nobody's called me yet. I'm going to go find someone. So it's up to you then to be there timely. But if I take advantage and put myself in the best loan based on your recommendation, great. You should be proud. You actually help the customer get into a better vehicle with or without you, which is actually the goal, right? Don't just give me a fish, teach me how to fish.
Hey, Jedi Master of Lending Secrets right here. I love it. So we have time for let's see, one more question here. And I'm curious your thought on this one. So how important, and I think you're a perfect example of this, how important is it to bring in outside voices, maybe outside from the mortgage industry in general, to drive innovation?
It is as important as knowing your business, right? Outside voices, outside industry insights. Well, I'll tell you like this. In the very early stages of Sales Boomerang, I dove into every piece of mortgage information I could find. I went to every conference, I listened to every podcast, I read every article, because I just wanted to understand what this industry was all about. And today, I'm looking outside the industry way more than looking inside the industry. Constantly. I'm reading books, articles, podcasts outside the industry than in the industry, because we've also seen in the past that the mortgage industry tends to be a little bit behind what's happening everywhere else. So if we can discover something happening in a very fast-paced industry that's working, or in another country that's far more innovative in the financial sector, right? In general, right? Like somebody that's moving their industries forward, how are they moving them forward? What have they done? Oh, communities, right? Well, communities are starting to become a real big thing in other industries. Peloton being a great example of that, right? Not just working out, but building communities around working out, right? And like-minded people and all. So looking outside this industry should be a practice that everyone does, like period. Always look outside the industry, because there's things happening that you can absolutely correlate within your industry. I mean, one of my favorite examples is chefs, right? Chefs spend so much time outside of their core business or of their core menu, looking at other menus, other countries, other recipes, other restaurants, to just see what is the uniqueness that they can bring back, just an element from that, and changes the entire menu for the next season. But they weren't looking at an Italian restaurant, wasn't looking at another Italian restaurant. An Italian restaurant was looking at a Thai restaurant, right? And it's like, and then all of a sudden you're going to this Italian restaurant, and there's such a unique take on, I don't know, what lasagna. I'm just making something up.
Right.
And you're like, how did they even come up with this? That's because they specifically stayed away from their industry, right? Like they purposefully didn't want to look at anything else Italian. And that's a lesson you definitely want to bring into your business.
Yeah, that's a great one to end on here, Alex. Hey, appreciate the time, everyone. If you're wanting to follow Alex, make sure and follow him here on LinkedIn. He's got a lot of good content on there as well, or salesboomerang.com. Alex, thanks again for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Dustin. Always love these conversations.
Absolutely. And if you enjoyed the conversation, make sure and follow us here on our YouTube channel. You can also catch us on Spotify, SoundCloud, and Apple Podcasts. And we'll be back again next week for another episode of Connect. We'll see you then.